This is Jonathan Blansett with a video for individual work assignment 1. Here is my HTML, my basic HTML with 4 input boxes, a submit button, and a reset button. The key difference with this one is the required client-side keyword. It's going to ensure that the data is input before they'll even allow them to hit the submit button, which is key. And here's the form. I'm not using XAMPP. I have a built-in server set up on my Eclipse. I just found it a lot more user-friendly for me. So if we go over to our main PHP file, of course, on the server-side validation, we ensure that everything is input before we even process it. And if it's not, then we make sure the user has a link to go back with this href tag here. This is a caveat. None of the files or names displayed in this program are real people. Everyone displayed is fictitious. No one has been exposed. This is just fake data to work with in a class project. At this point, if everything is good, we're going to pull all the information and put it in its respective variables, trimming any spaces. The first thing we're going to test is length to make sure that the first and last names are no greater than 20. Then we're going to use regex to ensure that we have only alphabetical data. And this gave me a little grief. I actually had to go to php.net and do a little research. Thought it was going to be quite simple, throw that bad boy and be done. Of course not. Had to do quite a bit more digging in order to see that I needed the plus sign. Once we added the plus sign, we're in business. Of course, I'm going to test the first and last name in one condition here. And if either of those is wrong, prompt the user. We test the email length, ensuring it's less than 30. I'm sorry, no greater than 30. And then we're going to use the regex as well with this. On the front side, to the left of the @ symbol here, we make sure that there's only alphanumeric data put in that also allows for periods, underscores, and hyphens, which is common in work emails. And then, of course, only alphabetical data, which I did allow for periods and hyphens in that as well. But the only 2 suffixes that we are allowing in this is .com or .edu. And if any of that is incorrect, prompt the user. The phone number wasn't quite as didn't take as much time as the other ones did. It was quite quick. You just only have 3 digits followed by a dash, 3 digits followed by a dash, and of course 4 digits. If it's wrong, we prompt the user. Here we set up our file variable. This is just for future use. I have a feeling we're probably going to be using this later on down the road. So that instead of just putting my user.info.txt in there when I pump it out to file, I went ahead and set up a variable here so that if I needed to change that, then we can always just change whatever the file was, and I wouldn't have to dig through my code to figure out where I used it at. Of course, we do some front side validation, making sure the file is there. And another problem I had was the output. I kept getting problems with when it would put out my list, because it wouldn't allow me to do it correctly. It kept concatenating my lines together, and it kept putting blank lines in there. So when I went to php.net and I found these keywords that you use with the file function, I was very happy, because it made life so much easier. Once I threw those bad boys in there, I never had any more problems with my output. Of course, we run through each of the files line by line, explode them into their individual parts delineated by a colon. Then I did a little front side testing to make sure that each had 4 parts. And then what we're going to do is set the last name as the key in our users array. And this is just an associative array so that we could go ahead and sort them. As it puts as it assembles the array here by last name, we're going to sort it. This was another issue I had. I first used just a general sort, but I was having some issues with case sensitivity. I needed to ignore the case. So every time I put a capital in, it put it at the top. And even though there was lexicographic data that was came prior, like if I had a small a, and then I put a capital S, it would put it above it. So in order to prevent that from happening, I had to do a lot of research, and I came across this on Stack Overflow. This way to use a case insensitivity in order to accomplish processing without getting hung up on the cases, since that's the default for PHP. So we sort it based on its lexicographic value, and put the outputs an output to file there, which is basically our user.txt. Once we've assembled our file and output it, we let the user know, and then we just build our table. We loop through it, explode it on its parts, and this I found as well, this list construct. I thought this was a great little tool. On php.net, I did a little research on Google, and it prompted me to come here and look at the documentation for it. It just allows you to bulk assign elements of an array to variables, and that's what we did here. And so it worked out really well. We echo every one of the values to the table and pump it out. And here's my text file. I've been playing with it a little bit. It's already sorted. So what we're going to do is we're going to trim this out. We're going to jumble it all up. Save it. So now that we know that it's not properly sorted, I've got my new entry here. And we're going to submit this as well. So there we go. Now that we've looked at it, we've seen that it is now sorted. The new entry for Bailey was put in its proper place based on the lexicographical data. And if we go back to our file here, we see that it updated, and it is, of course, sorted.